Give us a briefing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2416 would create the Kansas Motorsports Venue Protection Act, which would provide immunity to motorsports venues from civil actions for nuisance, taking, or similar legal theories. Under the bill, subsection B would provide that a racing facility, or racetrack facility would be immune from liability in any civil action that is based on nuisance, taking, or similar legal theories if the racing facility or racetrack was located and established in Kansas before a surrounding property owner either purchased or acquired property surrounding the facility or constructed improvements on such property. There's definitions for what is defined as a racing facility, racetrack, and surrounding property owner included in the bill. Subsection C of the bill would provide for general immunity from liability that would not apply to a civil action alleging a material violation of applicable state or local laws or conditions expressly prohibited by a valid permit, which would govern the facility or racetrack. There was amendments added in House Committee to exclude from immunity those actions brought by a surrounding property owner against a racing facility or racetrack that has not conducted a competitive vehicle or motorsport race during the 4 years immediately preceding the date when such property owner purchased or otherwise acquired such surrounding property when they purchased the property. So kind of a 4-year threshold there. Subsection D provides that this new section, the new bill, would not be construed to affect any other civil action unrelated to nuisance taking or similar legal theories, or to limit the enforcement authority of the state or any political subdivision for violations of state or local laws unrelated to the claims of nuisance taking or other such similar legal theories. There's a subsection E would also provide for a clause that if any new provision of this section would be declared declared invalid, the remaining provisions would be held valid. And then lastly, there was also an amendment that would change the effective date to the Kansas Register. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Any questions for Adam? Seeing none, thank you. First up, we have Representative Delperdang. The agenda gave him a promotion, but we'll keep him stay.
Before Representative Delperdang talks, I'd like to have you take a look at my name on your schedule there, and I'd like to be called upon properly for what it says. And what does it say? I appreciate Mr. Clues pointing that out. I got a kick out of it. So now this bill is one that's got my name all over it. It originated from the SEMA organization. I went out to Las Vegas this last November as part of touring through the SEMA events there. And Victor, who is probably online, and he'll be talking to us a little bit later on here, approached me on some issues they were having and some of the bills they ran in other states. And it is strictly for noise ordinance and that type of a civil items that occur for when a racetrack's been in a location for a long time. And I'm going to pick on Wichita, and they're going to be here to testify too, so I don't want to pop their bubble on it either. But case of Wichita, they've got the International Drag Strip down there. They've got 81 Speedway. They've got others. Or Topeka, they've got the drag strip up here. It's been here a long time. Wichita was born, I think, it was built in 1964, give or take. It's out in the country. It's really kind of a beautiful setting out there. It's got trees, it's got a lot of land. Well, as of recent, you've got houses encroaching upon it. You've got some really high-dollar properties being built really close to it. And now those property owners are saying, hey, there's a racetrack over here and it's loud and it's bothering my peace on Sundays or so. I want the thing shut down. What this bill does is for those existing tracks that have been there a long time, it gives them immunity from that type of an issue. It has nothing to do with liabilities if they're violating laws and everything else. But now what it does not do is if you've got a community there and you go build a new racetrack, then it's all open season on it. You're now encroaching on that new community. So it's kind of a one-sided bill. We did have a couple of amendments that I think the reviser went through. One of them was the 4-year amendment, and the reason we did that, we were looking at, if you know, Great Bend's racetrack has some significant historical value from a national perspective. Happens to be in Great Bend. And I want to say it was last year or so, it was shut down for almost a year. And it's not because it was abandoned. They were resurfacing, they were remodeling, they were doing different things to the track. But it was shut down for a period of time. So we wanted to make sure on one of the amendments, when that happens, or if a track shut down for a period, it doesn't reset the clock. Now they're a brand new event, but rather they still recognize they've been there for a long time. We did limit it. We limited it for 4 years on the amendment, because if you look at the Heartland out here in Topeka, major track, it did shut down. It had some tax issues. It was recently purchased by IHRA, and they're doing remodels now. They're getting ready to reopen the thing. And what I did not want to see is, okay, they're going to invest all that money into the track, into Topeka, et cetera, only be hit with more political issues of, well, now there's houses out there and they take precedence over the track that's really been there since the 90s. So that was kind of the purpose on that one. The other one we got into was how far out should these protections go? Because in the original bill, it looked at surrounding areas. Well, what is a surrounding area from a legal perspective? So we put a specific 5-mile stop on it. So if it's housing developments within that 5-mile area, okay, then you're subject to this bill. You get outside of that, the bill goes away, if you would. So it was just a good hard stop if it got into courts on something else there. But what really kind of blew me away when I got into this is I was approached by the SEMA people to run this thing. In the process of putting the bill together, I got approached by different racetrack owners. And I'm thinking racetracks, that's big companies, that's the NHRA, that's the IHRA, that's big things. A lot of these racetracks around the state of Kansas are owned by family operations. I just really didn't think about that. But these racetracks also bring in a tremendous amount of dollars and tourists and other residual things to the state of Kansas. So they are a good economic development item out there. You're going to hear later on from Cindy Bell. I think she's here, but hopefully she'll get into it with the number of visitors they had in Wichita, in excess of 10,000 visitors from 19 different states. That brings a lot of money into the state, which is good. So it was just, I think, a bill that needed to happen to protect the existing units that are out there. And I don't want to make it any more difficult than it really is. Pretty simple bill, but with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Committee questions. Senator Cleese.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the enlightenment on this. Having the track right out here in my district. How would this affect, like, sometimes they lease out, and I don't know if it's the owners or not, but for like big concert venues and stuff, so would that be applicable to them since they would be using the property as well? Like if it was?
I would assume is a yes. It is for noise ordinance. But then think about that too, I don't know if your district's out by Heartland or so,
Yeah.
but how loud is that if you get 2 dragsters running down the strip running on nitromethane compared to a concert? I think the dragsters are louder, and if it's not an issue there, I don't foresee an issue with a concert. But that's a really good question on it, because some of these venues they are using for other purposes occasionally. But it's simply dealing with the noise ordinance within a 5-mile range. So hopefully that answers what I'm. So okay.
Committee, further questions for Mr. Delperdang? Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony and being here. I actually have, this is part of my district, the Humboldt Racing, and I'm hearing from constituents the opposite. They would be extremely disappointed if we blocked or legislated their ability to have recourse.
Yeah, can I make a comment right there?
Absolutely, that's why I'm asking.
Something that really surprised me when I ran this bill on the House side was the number of people who came up with exactly what you just said. You know, I'm from XYZ location in the state, and by golly, I grew up around this track, and it's just family remembrances. We love being able to go there. You know, we don't go there all the time, but we love having it in the community. And a lot of them that I thought might be opponents, they came up and actually spoke for it because it was part of what we grew up with. It was really kind of interesting. So there really is a tremendous amount of proponents out there that you didn't even really kind of think about there.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I get it that people want to come to it, but these are people that live around the track.
Yeah.
And they're upset.
Okay, so they are
They
upset.
are upset
Okay, so
about the
I
noise.
misread.
It's the
Sure,
opposite. So
sure.
what would you suggest that we
Okay.
tell them?
Well, how old is their house? If the house was there first, they've got the full right. Now, if you go out and I want to build a brand-new house or a neighborhood, and I'm a mile from the track, don't I kind of know it's there? So no matter what business you guys might be in or so forth, it's no different than kind of a eminent domain, if you would. I want to build my neighborhood and no, I don't want you there, so I'm going to try and eminent domain it and shut you down. So really, it should be the rights of who was there first. And it's no different than if you got farmers and wind towers and all this other thing that we get into. Who was there first, to look at it or to have to deal with it? Again, the bill, if the track was not there first, the bill does not apply. So.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you.
I appreciate you having me here.
Next up, we have Cindy Bell. Welcome to the committee.
Good morning, Chairman. Thank you, Senators, for having me here. Senator Tyson, I'm pretty sure I know exactly who you're hearing from, and I'm down in Wichita, and it's not even my track. So my name is Cindy Bell. I am the operations manager for Kansas International Dragway in Mays, right outside of Wichita. I'm going to tell a little bit about my history because I know, number one, standing up here as a woman in dress wear is not something you expect from a track owner or a track operator, but I have a background. I'm born and raised in Kansas. I'm born and raised in Wichita. I'm very proud of being from here. In my career, I've been able to work out in California and San Diego and Phoenix and Dallas. I have a career in HR and business, and that's how I sort of ended up melding my passion for racing that I grew up with and ended up running a drag strip. I was supposed to just be going through my midlife crisis with my own race car, and here we are. Kansas International Dragway was founded in 1963 by the Simon family. When it was founded, it was out in the middle of nowhere between Mays and the Arkansas River, and Mays didn't even have a stoplight in it, and I'm not so sure there was a stop sign at that point in time. We're about 8 miles away from 81 Speedway on North Broadway. It is a dirt track. We are a drag racing track. So I grew up similar to what Representative Deppeldang said, with people that are enjoying it. I just butchered your name, I'm sorry. I grew up outside of a little lake in western Sedgwick County called Lake Afton, and they had the Lake Afton Grand Prix out there. And we lived 1.5 miles from there, and we could hear them warm up and race all day and all that, and that was very, very fond memories. There's a lot of people around Sedgwick County and around the state that have fond memories of packing up lunches and going out to the drag track in the 60s, 70s, 80s. But this isn't just about history. This is about the things and the quality of life for thousands, tens and hundreds of thousands of people around the country that have been coming to Kansas. Our history in Kansas with racing is steeped very, very deeply. And in that, we have a rich history. The first NHRA National Championship was held in Great Bend in 1955. That's the founding of a 2 million racer organization that came to Kansas. The first winner of the NASCAR Strictly Stock race in Charlotte in 1949 was Jim Roper. He was a Kansan, making him the first NASCAR champion. The state even boasts two motorsports museums, the Kansas Auto Racing Museum in Chapman and the Western Kansas Motorsports Museum in Dodge City. Even modern-day drag racing teams have ties to Kansas. The Kalita team, which is a top fuel race team known around the world, got founded on the wings of a 402 built in Wichita when Connie Kalita started his air cargo service that then turned into his passion with his family of drag racing. Our track and what I've handed out is kind of a bio so you can see our impact. As Representative said, we had over 10,000 people come in from around the country from 19 states. We've had people come in from Australia and Taiwan as well. They literally, the sport of drag racing is worldwide. They will bring over their cars and everything on boat or plane and fly them over and spend a summer racing U.S. tracks. So obviously, we're not in 1963 anymore, and we have developments coming in close to us. The nearest one is a mile away. Now, I absolutely understand where people that aren't around racing and fanatical about racing can understand the noise disturbance. But it's not any different than if you're living and build a house on the flight line going into McConnell Air Force Base or out here with the Air Force Base or any airport. It's not like a lot of other noise nuisances that you have. What it is a matter of 1963, and there's 20 tracks with Heartland Park in the state of Kansas that all are over 30 years old in the state of Kansas. Now, we do our due diligence. We self-curfew for the most part. We do our best to get closed down by midnight. We still have nothing but farmland immediately around us, and I met last year with the city manager, chief of police in Mays, and we sat down and had a chat about this. And one of the things that we looked at, the Mays City Ordinance, for example, says that noise is a matter of if a reasonable and rational person would find nuisance in the noise that's coming from the track. Now, a little side blurb on this and a sidebar, we have a doctor who has built a $3.5 million house in the past 2 years, 500 yards off the end of our track. I personally believe, and the City of Mays representatives kind of agreed, it's really not reasonable and rational to go and build a $3.5 million track 500 yards from, or house 500 yards from an operating track. You know it's there. You know it's noisy. I would be concerned about it too if I was putting that investment into property, but you know it's there. Just like you know if you're building next to a hog farm or something else. So I guess really what we're looking at with this bill is everyone has a sort of NIMBY, whether it's a prison or whatever else, it's not in my backyard. But what happens when the backyard comes to you? As a legacy owner, a landowner in the state of Kansas, and a business that gives greatly to 9 different organizations, including City of Wichita employees, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, 3 different school districts, we give back to our community graciously. And so it becomes a question of we're not a soda shop, we're not a little boutique, we're not even a gas station. When you're talking about a track that costs anywhere from $3 to $8 million to build new, we can't just pick up and move somewhere else. So that's kind of where we're at, and it's not a matter of us trying to be staunch and kick our boots and say it needs to be our way or the highway. It's not that at all. We have legacies out there. We have families out there, and we have racers that come in from all the adjoining states. You've got these racers that are coming in from Missouri, Oklahoma. They're stopping in our small towns. Every one of you in here, I did a quick check on you. I wasn't stalking, but I did a quick check. You all have racers that come to my track that are constituents of yours as well. And they travel the state. They put money into the state, whether they're paying fuel taxes by loading up their big rigs and filling them up, or they're stopping for a burger. My drivers that come out, they know where they want to stop at what small towns for what they want to get on the way to Wichita. We also are focused on youth. And one of the biggest things that we have, and you may have seen it, we've had problems in Wichita. I know that there's problems in Kansas City, Topeka, Leavenworth, is street racing. Kids get bored. I think all of us had that group of kids, if we weren't a part of that group of kids, that would go out on Friday nights and after the football game, they'd go racing. My dad looked at me about 2 years ago and was watching a race, and he said, I don't understand it. What happened to racing for pinks? I said, well, the price of cars went up a little bit more now, Dad, so we can't do that. But we all grew up people out there street racing. That's not safe. It's not safe for adults. It's certainly not safe for newly educated and learning drivers. So we work with student resource officers in schools, and we give free passes for kids to come out and race safely in our track. And most of our tracks do that. Most of our tracks, 81 Speedway being a dirt track, has small town nights where they say, you know, these suburb towns, you know, they pick 5 towns and are like, you're getting in half off tonight. You get a discount to race. So I want you to know this isn't just a matter of, you know, the lady that moved from Minnesota and bought herself 10 acres off, you know, a half mile from the Humboldt track and is complaining now about the noise. Everyone has due diligence when they're moving and building a house to look at what city businesses operate, what's around there, and can see a track. They're not hard to miss. It's not like a dry cleaner in a strip mall. So, you know, we're going to do our best to be good neighbors, but we need protection because this is an operating business that gives back to the state, to the citizens. It's historical, it's a legacy, and we just need those protections for help. I'm sorry if I got long-winded.
Committee questions. Senator Clues.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So do any of the locals, like rules, regulations cover this or no?
I'm not sure I understand the phrasing of your.
Like the noise issue?
You know, last year we only had 2 noise complaints, and we had some louder cars in at that point in time, and we reached out to the, of course, PD couldn't tell us exactly, but they pointed in the direction. When you point in a direction, there's one house. You kind of know. So we went over and apologized, and we only had 2 complaints last year. The year before, I believe we had 6 complaints, but we found out that there was a distant family member who was not quite happy with one of our owners, and they were just being facetious. So we just don't get that many complaints right now.
So it's been more just with the new communities encroaching?
We've had comments. We actually have a county commissioner that also lives in the little development that's 500 yards from our track. And I've visited with him as well, and he's heard complaints to himself from the doctor saying, what are we going to do about this track? And his answer was like, what do you mean? We're not going to do anything about that track. I knew it was here when it was built.
So, and originally my question was along the lines of like local ordinances. Doesn't cover this?
Our local ordinances, the problem that we have, and actually the mayor and the city council of Mays asked us to escalate this because at this point, they can put something in and the county can put something in, but at any point in time, we can be back here revisiting this and I can be on the other side saying, no, please don't go along with that. Anyone can come up here to the state and ask for us to put in a bill statewide. It really comes down to we're not alone. There's 19 of our tracks, and even the most suburban, if someone buys the section next to them, doesn't necessarily have to be a matter of urban creep.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Victor Munoz with SEMA. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, Chair.
You've got the floor.
No, thank you so much. Good morning, Chair Peterson, Vice Chair Klemp, and members of the committee. My name is Victor Munoz, and I'm here on behalf of Performance Racing Industry and the Specialty Equipment Market Association. And thank you for putting up my my PowerPoint there, and for Representative Del Berdang for inviting me here to speak in support of this great bill today. If you can go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. And I think what Ms. Bell, Ms. Bell perfectly encapsulated it. Kansas has a proud racing tradition, and racetracks are small businesses, drop creators, tourism drivers, and community hubs. And today, motorsports activity in Kansas generates about $743 million in economic output, supporting nearly 5,700 jobs and contributing more than 77 million in state and local taxes each year. That's real economic activity linked to facilities operating safely and legally in our communities. Next slide. And so to describe the challenge, as the representative put it, despite their contribution, racing facilities are increasingly subject to neighbor complaints and nuisance lawsuits. So a complaint can quickly escalate into a lawsuit. And this isn't due to illegal activity, rather because the development has encroached on tracks established years ago. When new residents move in and file nuisance suits, even facilities that comply with regulations may be compelled to reduce operations or close because of legal uncertainties and costly lawsuit-related financial challenges. HB 2416 addresses this issue in a measured and responsible way. Next slide. This bill does not eliminate oversight. It does not exempt facilities from environmental laws, safety regulations, or local permitting requirements if there are any. Instead, it reinforces a simple common sense principle. If a motorsports facility was established lawfully and has continued to operate in compliance with the law, it should not be forced out by newcomers who arrive later. Amendments in the House, as mentioned by Representative Delperdang, include the 5-mile radius to make it easier to see who applies to this law, and the 4-year clock reset for motorsports activity to restart. Because quite frankly, when a racetrack suffers financial risk or is unavailable to stay in business, they don't tend to come back to that community. And that's, as you can see, jobs, revenue, tax dollars, culture, that all goes away. And so we hope that HB 2416 provides stability, predictability, and fairness while keeping safety and accountability firmly in place. On behalf of SEMA, PRI, and thousands of Kansas motorsport supporters, I respectfully ask for your support to HB 2416. And then thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Victor? Seeing none, you got off easy. Committee note, we have written testimony from John Allen, General Manager of 81 Speedway and Humboldt Speedway. Are there any opponents to the bill? Any neutrals? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing on 2416. Committee, we do have approval of minutes. They were sent out. There's a whole slew of them from January 14th through February 12th. What's your pleasure on the minutes? Like a motion? Motion's been made to approve by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Arterbright. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Committee, I'd like to turn our attention to Senate Bill 318. Adam, could you give us a refresh on where you're at?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 318 requires that for operation of a motor vehicle in a roundabout, the driver would be required to operate and change lanes in the roundabout only if such movement can be made safely, and the driver would be required to provide the appropriate turn signal as to movements left or right within the roundabout or exiting the roundabout. As used in the term, roundabout is an intersection characterized by circulatory roadway, channelized approaches, and yield control to entering traffic. The roundabout would include the area bounded by the outermost curb line, or if there's no curb, the edge of the pavement, and any crosswalks on any entering or exiting roadway.
Committee, what's your pleasure on the bill? I think it was just a technical correction. Senator Corson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move that the Senate Transportation Committee pass out Senate Bill 318 favorably for passage and placement on the consent calendar.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Bowers. Further discussion? Senator Dietrich.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I probably should have asked this when we had the hearing. Law enforcement has to enforce this, but we didn't hear from them. I drive through roundabouts every day to get to and from the Capitol, to get to the grocery store, to get to Walgreens. I live with roundabouts. I don't see how this is doable. So is there any reason we didn't hear from law enforcement?
I have no idea. It was noticed, they didn't show up.
Yeah.
It's just a technical cleanup on the turn signaling. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I had the concern that I raised yesterday that, we already have a law that if you don't signal your change of lane, you can already be ticketed for that. So I would think it would also apply to roadways that happen to be roundabouts. So not sure this is necessary, and we do have a lot. I know there are two, as I mentioned, in front of actually multiple schools in the area, not just in my area, and I would think, again, that it would be something that we could already be doing without the new law. Those are just some of my noticing of what's in the bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Committee, any further discussion? No motions to table. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? No. Motion fails. Took care of that one. Well, committee, we're going to have a busy schedule coming up, a lot of bills coming over. With that, we are adjourned.